my friend, and welcome to our tea time. Today's tea time topic is the power of motion. Now, this idea came to me, I think, on the treadmill, to be honest, because I've been really focused on exercise as of late. And I was actually going to do this whole topic on exercise and talk about the power of exercise, but I knew probably people wouldn't even listen to it if I called it the power of exercise. But it's much more deeper and more philosophical than that. For one, I think we just went through a very emotional couple of months. The human race is emotionally growing up, and I always speak to emotion as our energy in motion. In fact, although things seem still, they're actually not, as you well know from physics, right, and molecular science. We know that everything in the universe is in motion. Even the things that we consider to not be alive are in motion. Atoms and electrons buzzing around each other, planets buzzing around the sun. The sun is in motion with all of its nuclear fusion. Everything is in constant motion all the time. And so literally, I believe that it is unhealthy for us not to be in motion quite often. In fact, I think that's part of the reason we are having so many problems as a modern society. You notice how, science is getting more sophisticated with diseases and healing, but we are getting sicker. Have you noticed that? That over the last 40 years, human beings are more and more sick, take more and more medicine. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that we've created this docile lifestyle. As soon as maybe it was the 50s when we started having enough money per household to start getting cars. But prior to that, we were walking everywhere. The average human being anywhere on the planet at least walked probably a mile or two a day, don't you think? Just to school and back or to work and back. And I would say the majority of people, because we had a lot of, laborious jobs back then, with the majority of people were in action and in activity all the time. I believe, as I've been fighting my own issues and my own heartfelt pains and things these last couple months, that we have become upset and depressed because we have been too still. We have not utilized the power of motion. And so our emotions have been out of control, literally. And that's one of the things I have learned, especially when I go through phases, dark nights of the soul, where I'm cleansing myself and letting go of stuff. I myself know that and have witnessed that my life gets much worse if I don't exercise on a regular basis. And I will put that out to you right now, since we're in the Virgo consciousness. The human race is accustomed all the way to its history to at least walking a couple miles a day. That's what we have literally evolved under that. And in modern day life, we sit in a desk, then we sit in an Uber, then we sit on a couch, then we sit in a lazy boy, then we sit on a bed. There's really not a lot of motion going on. There's not a lot of people in motion. They say still water breeds bacteria, but water that is in motion, right, cannot breed bacteria. And I think that's true with our soul too. So I want to talk about the power of motion. The power of motion, first of all, I think is necessary for our health. So if you've had any issues with your emotions and you're not walking or having some sort of regular exercise, I think that is part of the problem right there. And if you make a regular habit of exercising, which can be simply walking, by the way, it doesn't have to be a gym or anything crazy like that, I think you'll find that you feel much better. Your body feels much better because you're putting yourself into motion. Now, the other thing I noticed with the power of motion has to do with discovery. I don't know about you, but I very rarely have a brilliant idea sitting down. Very rarely. It is usually when I'm on the treadmill, when I'm taking a shower, when I am walking down the street, when I am driving somewhere. Basically, it's usually when I am in motion that I find inspiration comes. And in fact, I have learned now, as I am growing older, that even to think about what am I going to talk about on the next show, people probably wonder, how do you come up with these ideas for tea time? a lot of times I have to go for a walk, like, and sitting in front of my computer, looking at, Facebook posts, seeing what people are talking about. None of that inspires me. But as soon as I put my body into motion, then everything starts to flow, and I start to open up, and sure enough, the ideas will come. The other aspect of the power of motion has to do with manifestation. And this is when I really found out that motion was important, because I discovered the 11 steps to serious joy, which I teach, and I discovered that the steps go in a certain order, not anything super secret. It's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay. And I discovered that step 9 is the step where we take action. It's the part of our consciousness that actually manages all of our emotion. Well, yeah, every time we're in motion, but probably triggers emotion as a result. If we're not in motion, our emotions might erupt. And what I learned is with step 9, by the way, is Aries, and that's what Aries do. They are doers. They sometimes don't think, but they do, right? And you can count on them to do, and you can always count on them to do certain things. And that's one thing I love about Aries, is you can count on that they're going to, you are going to see something happen here. They're not just going to sit around. But what I realized with step 9 and things in motion was that it was the step before step 10, which is I manifest. So in the 11 steps to serious joy, in manifestation, basically, incarnation, the last thing we do before it begins to manifest is we put it in motion. And I believe that's a lot of the reason why you have in all spiritual customs and traditions, in all religions too, certain rituals that the priests or goddesses go through. Goddess, if it was Atlantis, by the way, if you're wondering where I came up with that term. But basically, the facilitator would not only have the spell and the intention and the conscious shift, but they would be doing something that was putting in motion, waving incense, waving hands, even witches stirring the kettle brew. So right now, we are putting a new life into motion, particularly once we have Mercury direct again. We will be thinking in the direct future. And you might ask yourself, when it comes to your health, when it comes to your inspiration, when it comes to your manifestations, are you putting things in motion? The last thing I will leave you with is actually something that I read about in Conversations with God. I think this was the second book, if I'm not mistaken. But there was a conversation part in that where they were discussing how to get out of certain thinking. So people who are stuck in certain thinking. And what God says is, if you want to change your mind, then you force yourself to take action. So you can think about it, or you can take action. And when you put things into motion and take action, that actually reprograms the thoughts and the brain, says God, which made me think, oh, that's what boot camp is. That's how we break down soldiers and brainwash them. We basically keep them in constant motion and then bring in this new thinking. So if you're having a hard time with your mind, it sounds like acting and not thinking might be your power of motion there. All right, friend. Well, philosophical day here, sharing with you some of my thoughts that I get on the treadmill when I'm in motion. Put your life into motion today. And I want to remind you that I have a fantastic personal Sensei service that I offer for the first month for just $3.99. And you might go, what is a Sensei service anyways? It's a person who is constantly reminding you at least 6 times a day on your phone, and with a whole plethora of content online, that you are capable of becoming happier. It is possible, and we can do it together one step at a time. Visit me at SeriousJoy.com. Have a great 24 hours. Remember, I love you, and to live, love, be. Live, love, be.